Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm once again your host, Pavarotti, here to bring you information on that 04 case. Now, once again, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions, not here to slander anyone. That being said, let's get started. Today I want to react from a video from a content creator called Unfiltered Lucky. Now, I've watched many of Unfiltered Lucky's videos, and I really like the way that he thinks in terms of questioning aspects. He comes up with some excellent questions. Where we kind of don't align is the answers to the questions that he comes up with. But with that being said, I want to listen to a video and he's going to come up with some questions, and rather than listen to the answers, I'm going to fill in some of the blanks, and you can agree with me or disagree. It's up to you. Go watch his videos though, they're pretty good. That being said, let's get started.
If only one person was the target in the Idaho 4 crimes, why take the lives of almost everyone in the house? Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about the idea that only one person was the target in this house, and that 3 people just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Why take the lives of 4 people if you're only trying to get to 1? Was this plan that much of a disaster that whoever committed these crimes had to take 4 people's lives just to get to the one person who they were trying to target? Why not get this person while they were alone, maybe outside of the house? They say that Bryan Kohberger stalked these girls and was around the King Road house, or at least within a 10-mile radius of the King Road house. But they say that Bryan Kohberger was around this house at least 12 times. Supposedly, it's all on video, but this is what I don't understand. If Bryan Kohberger was stalking these girls and watching their movements, then he would have discovered a time when this girl would have been their most vulnerable, maybe outside of the house. He may have chosen to, get to her when she was walking home from class or walking to her car. It would seem silly that he would think that the best time to get to this girl would be when she was at home and surrounded by her roommates. Not only that, but Ethan was also staying over that night. Why would the assailant, if they were alone, choose to make this a lot more difficult and a lot more risky by waiting until the house was full of people? Think about that. Let's say you wanted to get at someone. Would you wait until they were inside their own home that you're unfamiliar with, surrounded by 5 people, to go do it? Probably not. That seems like a recipe for disaster. That's a horrible plan. To me, it seems more likely that this was someone who had a problem with the whole house, obviously other than Dylan and Bethany. But I don't believe that there were people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Whoever committed these crimes was very intentional about it. And if these crimes happen the way that law enforcement believes that they happened, then this person could have left at any time. There was absolutely no interference. So the person or people who committed these crimes could have left after the first and second victims. But instead, they decide to take the lives of 2 more people on a different level. Whoever did this would have had to walk past 2 exits to get to Xana and Ethan. Steve Gonsalves said He didn't have to go up the stairs.
So, looking at the targets on this, and for those of you that have watched my past videos, you know what I'm about to say. Let me say it in a more detailed way this time. Okay, so the previous stalking incidents, I believe, were probably accurate. I believe that Mr. Kohberger and his associate had been keeping their eyes on these individuals for quite some time, as their cases were waiting to be decided upon. And when I say their cases, you know who I'm talking about, the cases of those family members. Well, the organization had an idea that things may need to be taken to the next level, and they probably had put the word out to tell people what would happen if things didn't go the way that they were supposed to go. So when the time finally came and those deals were made right before this event happened, the final word came back to Mr. Kohberger and his associate, take out the targets. Now let's talk about the targets once again. The questions that Mr. Lucky just brought up were very valid. Why would somebody go through all that if you had only one target? Well, common sense is going to tell us that he didn't have just one target. And it certainly wasn't the house that was being hit, because two people were left living and unarmed in that house. So if it was the house, that wouldn't have been the case. They wouldn't have walked past the one young lady's door, no telling how many times. So there was two targets, the young lady upstairs and the young lady downstairs. There was also two unintentional targets, and that was the other young lady upstairs that happened to be visiting for the evening, and the boyfriend who happened to be visiting for the evening downstairs. Now, we've already discussed that the several passes of the vehicle in the neighborhood allowed one of the assailants to get out and go and do the reconnaissance needed for the atrocity to take place. And once the time was right, he took his burner phone, contacted the other individual who was still driving around on his burner phone, and said, the time is right. He probably entered the residence at that point, leaving the back door open, went to the downstairs room to get in place to commit that atrocity, while the other assailant parked the car, came into the house, and went upstairs. I do believe it was Mr. Kohberger who went upstairs, and it was the other assailant downstairs, simply because of two reasons. One, the injuries on the victims downstairs were different from the injuries on the victim upstairs, which tells you that two different assailants with two different weapons were involved in this incident. And the other thing that tells me that Mr. Kohberger was upstairs is his unintended target. Now let's go through his mindset at this point. He goes into the room expecting there to be one young lady there. That was his target, but there was two. Now in his mind at that point, he's thinking, how can I make this look like something that it's not? So as he commits the atrocity, he must then make one of the victims, and in his mindset, it would make more sense to be the unintentional targeted victim, to make it look like a crime of passion. So that would absolutely make sense why one victim had more injuries than the others. He wanted it to look that way. And when he was asked by a neighbor about the incident, what did he say? He said, it looks like a crime of passion to me, because that's what he wanted it to look like. Now, both of those assailants exited. I believe Mr. Kohberger went downstairs to make sure his associate completed his task. And that's why he was seen exiting that room, heading for the back door by the other roommate, who, by the way, he just left standing. So when you take all of the scenario into consideration, that can be the only answer. And it all comes back to what I've been saying. It's all about the drugs, folks. In my next video, I'm going to go into more detail about that. But with that being said, thank you for watching. I look forward to your comments and your criticisms. Please subscribe, and until next time, Pavarotti out.